I think the one could sum it up that is then a relationship for a bit of mistrust on the from the African perspective. And I think the key problem, if you look at the key problem, is that when it comes to issue of trade, the EU is not very clear in terms of the trade, especially with the Cotonou, because they say that they should engage in free trade, but you cannot have a free trade when at the same time you are subsidizing your own part of the deal. So the trade is not free, and you cannot have a free trade when at the same time the standards, you require very high standards. Those standards prevent African exporter from exporting into the EU. So that is why the relationship has been a bit problematic from that perspective. Yeah, the migration issue, when I hear of this, I think is as much an African problem as an EU problem, because many Africans who want to stay in the continent, they don't want to take the perilous journey crossing the Mediterranean. They want to stay at their home. But the problem is, when you look at the EU-African relation, it is not a kind of relationship that creates jobs. They want a kind of relationship that, in terms of investment, that will create jobs for those Africans to stay there. I mean, we mean real jobs. We want European company to relocate in Africa and then take advantage of the cheap labor there and take advantage of the resources that Africa offer. For example, when you look at cocoa, the global market of cocoa is about, of chocolate is about $1 billion. But the African countries that are exporting cocoa, you name it, Ghana, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, these are some of the countries that export, with Ivory Coast and Ghana being the major exporter. They don't reap that benefit. So the African countries are saying that you should come here and establish your company here and then re-export chocolate to Europe. When you do that, these young people that are leaving will not leave. They will not leave the continent. And then also from a political standpoint, they don't want the idea of the African citizens, do not want the idea of Europeans saying that they have European values when they don't see. They want that they should walk the talk. If they say that there's European value being good governance and in other words, democracy and non-abuse of human rights, they should show it there. They shouldn't be propping up dictatorial regime that eventually will lead to a problem in the States where people will have to be running away. So if you say that, do that clearly and let people see that this is what you are doing. When they do that, it will tackle migration. I know there is an idea being floated around now that they want to have arrangement with North Africans so that they can put European border agencies. Why would they want to spend European taxpayers' money there? You only trying to solve the symptoms of a problem that is already there. And that symptoms of the problem will never go away if the root causes of the problem are not solved. And the root causes is the economic and the issue of political. Work toward that. And the relationship should be really based on kind of continent to continent and take into account the existing African institution or framework. Okay, I think with the post-Cotonou, very shortly, what the African country, their expectation is that the arrangement should be on a continent to continent. It should not be ACP. Africa has an agenda, a development agenda. That's the African Union Agenda 2063, and they work as a group to work for more integration. So that is what should be. And in specific terms, I think they also need to, they will be wanting for the EU, as I said earlier, to enter into an investment relationship where companies will really come and invest there and employ their own people there. And I think, of course, the EU has to be clear in terms of what it wants from Africa. I know one of the key issues now is that the EU wants that Africa should curb the migration. You cannot curb the migration we will not ask African countries to deal with the migration problem if you don't curb these root causes of migration, because it's actually the root causes of migration that is making people to travel. And then the other one is that Europe should also be portraying Africa as they portray countries like China. In other words, like investment destination. European companies want to have that trust that they can go and invest in Africa without any problem. But if the media doesn't portray Africa in that way, no investor will go to Africa. I think the tone has to change, and that is actually that thing that is making China, is the way of representation that is making China to take advantage of that.